Guys, I have another excellent video here. You have to watch this. Pierre Poilievre just said this today. Look at this. End sentence discounts for non-citizens who do crime. I'll react to it, but he's got a lot of good ones in here. You won't even believe it. So if you're Canadian, think about coming here, whatever, you have to watch this. So important.
Mr. Speaker, 10 years of radical open borders policies and mass migration have undermined confidence in what was the best system of immigration anywhere in the world. The Liberals imposed this radical approach without any care, consideration, or thought for the strains it would place on our housing, healthcare, and job market. And the result is chaos in our streets. But nowhere is this problem more acute than in the area of lawlessness and criminality that Liberals have invited through the system. They have allowed people to come to this country and get visitor visas and other permits to enter Canada without actually performing any criminal background checks. To this day, there are 400 criminals who have since been ordered deported but have not left and have vanished completely into Canadian society. Furthermore, our legal system now discriminates against Canadians and in favor of non-Canadian, non-citizen criminals who are here. In fact, lowering the sentences that they receive for convictions in order to allow them to stay. An unbelievable perversion of justice, which does exactly the opposite of what we should seek. It should be a stated policy of our system to get criminals out of Canada. If someone is not a citizen, not a Canadian, and commits a crime, then they should be shown the door, because becoming a citizen of this country.
And by the way, he's talking about serious crimes. He's not even talking about like someone stole a little chocolate bar, right? He's talking about like serious crimes. But you got to watch these examples.
Requires good law-abiding behavior that will protect the well-being and the interests of this country. And let me read through some examples of this kind of backwards thinking that is pervaded in our system. In the Pham decision, a key matter was that the sentence had to be reduced in order to allow the defendant to stay in the country. In 2023, in another case, a 30-year-old man, Akash Kumar Kant, tried to have sex with a 15-year-old at a Mississauga hotel for $140, but only received a conditional sentence because a stronger penalty would have hindered him and his wife's ability to obtain Canadian citizenship. On June 25th.
So think about that. So a Canadian gets a harsher penalty because that's the law, but now these woke judges are saying, well, yeah, that's the rule. You should get a very harsh sentence, but the other rule is that means you're kicked out of Canada, so we'll give you a lower sentence for your horrible crime. And then you get to stay in Canada, and then we get to enjoy having you here.
Kant was sentenced to a conditional discharge for committing an indecent act. For 3 months, he will be placed under house arrest. During which time he was able to go shopping for 3 hours every Sunday, attend religious services, medical appointments, and travel to and from work. 12 months of probation afterwards. In other words, his sentence was specifically reduced so that he could stay in Canada. In 2024, a 25-year-old non-citizen, originally in Canada on a study permit, then a visitor permit, sexually assaulted an 18-year-old at a club in Calgary. Despite being found guilty, the court, led by Judge Anne Brown, took into account that he would be deported without appeal if the charge was one of sexual assault. Therefore, the court decided to discharge him and subject him to 15 months of probation. If he had been a Canadian, he would have been convicted of sexual assault and actually gone to jail. But as a privilege for being here as a non-citizen, non-Canadian, he had his sentence reduced to no jail time, and therefore he was allowed to stay in this country.
So think about that. So the guy comes here, commits that crime, goes to court, gets convicted. He's guilty. So the judge knows all this. He did it. So the Liberals say, let's have more of these people to come in because the background checks are weaker or non-existent, especially when you come in on a visitor visa. There's like no check really at all. So you come in, you commit the crime, And then you say, well, if a Canadian did it, the rule is you're in jail. But if you're in jail, that means if you're a non-Canadian, you get kicked out of the country. So let's give them a lesser sentence for the crime to keep the person here. Why do we want the person here? He was here on a visitor visa or a student visa. That's not even close to a Canadian, right? So they come here, shouldn't have been here in the first place, commit a horrible crime, and then don't even have to go to jail because going to jail would mean that you're kicked out. Like, what's the big deal if you're kicked out? You commit a crime like that, you're out. It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. I need Canadians of all types, wherever you're from. I don't care. Just I want comments on this. What do you think about this? I think any normal person would say that's ridiculous. Is there somebody who doesn't think it's ridiculous? I have to know. Anyway, we will see you in the next video. I'll post a link to the rest of it, but I just had to share my thoughts there.